Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another season of Carrying Wayward and Supernatural.
Season 5 pregame.
And I already cracked my drink, but I'll take a sip. I'm pumped. Season 5, I think for most of our listeners by now know, this was my real falling off point. I think I really know two things about Season 5. Both come from this first episode. I'm now officially, with the exception of the rare, I know we're going to face XYZ creature, or we get a cameo from this actor or actress who may become permanent or is a one-off, I'm basically in the dark now. I'm officially at the end of my, I've seen some of these episodes arc.
So basically everything after season 5, episode 1 is brand new territory to you.
Like I said, I have a few things I'm aware of, like the odd character name or an episode that I'm aware exists, but I, again, have no knowledge of the plot. I know we definitely get one of the brothers in a, Viagra commercial. I know there's a few characters I've seen pictures of that I know are a little more relevant to the plot, but I don't know who they are or when they show up. But like you said, this is really the end of, I think I may have seen this episode. What's changing in season 5? Where are we going?
Before we get into that, I just sort of wanted to do a quick reminder to our listeners, and maybe to you, I don't know. In season 4, we made the very scary move of ditching the crossroads, and we replaced it with our reflection and call to action. And I really feel like it has worked really well for us. It was really scary at the time, but now I'm like, oh yeah, it's true. We used to do this, and it doesn't really, I don't really miss it all that much. I just find that it gives, for me anyway, it sort of gives me space to really think about what I'm personally getting from the episode. What message do I get from this piece of media? And I think that that's a really huge part of engaging critically.
I agree completely. I think I said it at the beginning of season 4. I think I even said it towards the end of season 4 as a reflection. It really was a daunting task. It felt very deep, emotional, and personal, which is not a bad thing, but it just sort of felt like a little more of putting my heart out there. I was afraid that I wouldn't have anything good enough to say in those moments. Yeah, sure, some were harder than others, but they really did open for better conversation. And I almost think more so than that, removing the crossroads and allowing us to bring that level of conversation back to story time really helped make story time feel more whole.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really love the way that we're going about story time now. It just feels very, very fun and interesting, and it keeps it fresh for us too. We're not constantly talking about the same things or rehashing the same stuff. We're able to, through the new theme every week, to kind of get a new outlook on the episode and on the show and on the characters.
Speaking of new things, something that was new this season that I was equally nervous for, but I have now, I think, come to found my favorite part of every week's prep is our lore segment. Breaking away a bit from the, let me just look this thing up and rehash information to you that anyone can really get through Google or something. I still try to make it somewhat educational when the opportunity arises. When we get a new creature of the week, I try to tie it in more so. But this has been a great chance for me to kind of flex my creative muscles, which is something I only now realize I've been lacking recently an outlet for. And I often find myself writing these segments now and having to stop because I've written 12 paragraphs and I'm like, I don't have that much time. Let me save this copy aside and make a 2-paragraph condensed version, or else Mary might murder me in the middle of a recording.
I mean, you're too far for me to do that, sadly.
I don't doubt your abilities. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
It just sort of feels like a nice little break sometimes especially after a really heavy story time.
I tie it to the episode as best I can, but I don't really think about where our story time's going to go first. So we've had some where our story time's super dark and heavy that I'm like, oh good, here's my super depressing lore segment. So I like when they vary more, and even then it can still be a break. I just sort of feel whoops, this isn't going to help the mood.
But it still kind of takes us out of Supernatural, the show. I still really like it. And I think this sort of stuff and this sort of switch up is really going to be needed in season 5.
I just feel like you're leading into something scary, someone about to die that I'm not going to enjoy.
I mean, you know that I'm not answering that, right?
Yeah, I know you're not going to answer, but I can still ask the question out loud. So the last real big thing we did this season was we did open up our coffee. It has all the same perks as our Patreon, and just to give folks an option of where they'd rather support come through. I mean, it really is just a personal choice. You're not getting something more on one or the other.
Right, exactly. And speaking of which, if you're a patron or coffee supporter, make sure to join our Discord server because it's honestly a really great place to talk about the podcast and about the show and just about everything. You know, I've had some really, really interesting conversations on there, and it's going to sound super cheesy, but it's genuinely my favorite app to open in the morning. Like just reading what people have been writing overnight and just like kind of jumping into that, seeing everybody's thoughts. Like it's nice.
I'll always sort of flick through and see if anything like catches my eye, but there's like the few that I know I'm going to go to that I'm going to go look and see what I missed. And like, we just get the best conversations. Before recording this, we had a conversation about the science of zombies.
Yes.
Like that was a thing that happened. We legitimately had a scientific debate about zombie anatomy.
That's actually something I completely missed, to be entirely honest. See, it's so funny. Like we see and we catch like such different things. I love it.
It's so much conversation with so many interesting people on so many varied subjects that it's like it's really easy to miss some really cool things, but it's only because you're seeing other cool things anyways.
Right.
So with all of that season 4 and all of our previous new stuff out of the way, shall we look into the future of new stuff with season 5?
I feel like season 5 is a huge milestone for more reasons than one, obviously. The really big thing for us that we've already announced 2 weeks ago is our pin, which is being launched in our coffee store tomorrow.
I have a tracking app on my phone so I can track deliveries and stuff. So while we were waiting for the shipments, I literally like every morning would check and go, are they here yet? Are they here yet? Did it maybe get here a day faster than we expected? Okay, it's out for delivery. Like I'm like out the window waiting for the truck to show up. Like
it's been really interesting. I'm so excited for everybody to see them. Check out our website, carryingwayward.com for all the details. Honestly, they're so cool. Like we freaked out when we got them. And the cool thing is that it's just the Impala grill. So it's really perfect for anyone who likes Supernatural and doesn't necessarily listen to this particular podcast. Because remember, folks, the holidays are coming.
Promotion. The second thing, or I guess kind of a tweak that we're doing this time, is I realized the lore segment was kind of it was a title that came before the segment. And because we've reached this point where a lot of the creature of the weeks do tend to start repeating, at least season 4, we got to a very long chain of just demons and angels. It made it hard to tie these stories to lore every single time. Ideally, it was always somewhat thematic, but it's not always doable. So we're rebranding it a little bit, and we're going to rename this The Hunter's Journal.
Love it.
But I just feel like it'll fit the content more, knowing that I'm not so focused on what was the creature of this week. Oh, it was demons again. Okay, how do I run another demon story? I could be a little more free and at least try to find a tie. It feels better to me. And I just feel like I'm going to end up with a lot more fun things to talk about.
The last thing that we are tweaking this season, and this is more for our patrons and coffee supporters, we are switching up the post show. So we realized that it wasn't really as popular as we would like it to be, and we want to make sure that we offer like good and fun perks to our supporters and things that like matter to you guys. So instead of talking about random things, we're going to be focusing a lot more on supernatural related things. So you know how every week we ask a different question when we introduce our community voicemail? We're going to be answering that question for ourselves in what will now be known as Impala Talk, where you and I basically lean on the Impala, maybe with a drink in hand, and we talk about something that we didn't get to cover in the episode, much like Sam and Dean do at the end of almost every episode.
I love the imagery of this, and I really love the name. Yes, there's a part of me that will heavily miss the randomness of our past post-show conversations, but I feel like that's what the Discord has kind of become. It's a place where we can have a little more random banter. And again, if we really see a call for people wanting also random banter, we'll, I'm sure, find a way to work it in other places.
I was wondering if you had any resolutions for season 5.
Besides the obvious goal of improving my writing quality and my storytelling abilities and continuing to evolve that segment with more sound, as you will see going into this season, I've already got a few fun ideas for the first episode. I really am just setting myself a goal of not losing the steam we gained in season 4. To peek behind the curtain, season 4 was such a well-oiled production. The fact that we had as many episodes ready to go as often as we did, it never really felt like we were rushing. My goal is just to maintain that power.
From my resolution, we're going to have some roadblocks to that.
So let's hear your resolution, because obviously mine is not something new. Mine is a recur, so we can try to balance.
If we kind of look back at the last few seasons, like I was using the steps of the hermeneutic wager kind of like as my own resolutions. So I started with imagination, then humility, and then more recently I talked about commitment. And it worked really well for us. Like we committed. And for season 5, I'm going to be focusing on discernment. And this is a really interesting one because it involves basically acknowledging that limits exist, and whether they're financial, time, energy, or any kind of limits. And discernment asks us to think critically about our last steps, like our imagination, humility, commitment, which were basically about imagining anything we wanted to do and committing to that. And now I'm needing to be realistic about what I can and cannot do. And the reason why this speaks to me so much is because like I have started a huge commitment just 3 weeks ago, which is my PhD program. And I really need to make sure that I'm not biting off more than I can chew. So I need to try and find like the balance between all of my commitments, which is like school, work, home, family, friends, fandom, and podcast.
That sounds like a lot, and it also sounds like a plan. Again, never want to push you more than you can. I know you'll never push me more than I can take. And I know we can get through this together with these commitments.
Yeah, we will, for sure.
I think with that, we've wrapped up what we are looking forward to with season 5, our commitments and our changes. Sounds like we got work to do.
Yep. Let's get this show on the road.
By welcome back chit chat, do you like legit mean let's just chit chat welcome back? Or is that an actual line you wanted me to read?
Oh my God.
I wasn't sure if it was a stage direction or a line.
That is a stage direction.
Enter stage left.